if a new actor comes to you and you had to give them one piece of advice, what would it be?
Well, I think that, gosh, one piece of advice. There's so many things I would tell them.
Yeah, but what's like the most important thing that you could tell somebody? I always have one ready every time, because I always get asked,
right.
Ken, what do I need to do?
Yeah.
So, Joy, what does a new actor need to do?
Well, I think you have to know your environment. And so, like, for example, the DC, Maryland, Virginia area is so different than like how it works in Los Angeles or how it works in New York. So, I mean, it's show business, and so it's a business, and you got to treat it like a business. And if you want to get into acting as not as a hobby, right, but as a professional thing, then, like I said, people are going to expect that you have the acting part down. You got to make sure that you have the business part down. Marketing yourself. How do you stay in touch with people? Just keeping your name out there, and always having the good materials, good headshot, your resume up to date, a website with contact information and reels on. I mean, I've done a lot of producing, and it amazes me sometimes how I can't find actors when I need to, because they don't have contact information on their website, or they have their Facebook page completely blocked without even like maybe an email address or something like that, where I may have heard of this actor or seen them in a play. So, I mean, I guess I would emphasize the business part of it and expect them to know that they obviously got to handle the acting side of it.
Sure, be professional.
Yeah.
And, if you have sassybritches@AOL as your email, you might want to change that.
Good point. And don't email a picture that the title is like, me_smiling #1. It's like, who is that when you're trying to find the pictures in the whole...
Yes, or image number 0092.
Right. I mean, you have to make it easy for the casting person and for your agent.
Follow the directions on the casting agent's website, casting director's website.
And even if they don't say that, I mean, you should present yourself that way anyway, even if they don't specifically ask for it in a certain presentation. You want to give it to them. You want to spoon feed them. Don't make it difficult for them to know who you are. And also, in that respect, to know who you are. I mean, what is your type, and what are the type of roles that you're appropriate for? I mean, if you submit on everything across the board, like, oh, there she goes submitting on, grandma again. Wasn't she just submitting on the girl next door last week?
Yeah,
it's
you're
just
only
like,
30. Why are you?
Right.
Yeah.
So it's just like knowing who you are, knowing what your type is, and being okay with that. I mean, if you are on the overweight, quirky sidekick, and that bums you out, you're going to have to get over that.
Sure.
And you just have to accept it and go with it, and you're going to work as the overweight, quirky sidekick because no one else can fit that as perfectly as you. So figuring out who you are and then marketing yourself and only submitting yourself on appropriate roles, I think is really important, because it's like crying wolf, the people got to believe you when you submit.
Absolutely. You got to understand your image, your archetype, and play to that. So, because when you first start out, nobody knows you.
Right.
So you kind of have to tell them who you are.
Right.
Let's think about, you were talking about training for a new actor, but how important is it for someone who has been doing it for a while? Is it still an important part of what an actor does?
I would think so, for a lot of reasons. I mean, first of all, when you're doing theater, obviously you're doing a lot of challenging, rehearsal, and you have a lot of interaction with the director and with other actors, and there's a whole process where you're getting to know the character. But in the type of work that we do on television and film, I mean, you can go to the set and you might not even meet the director. I mean, the director might not even come and introduce himself or herself to you, and you got a principal role. So, I mean, you can't expect to show up and be told what to do or how to do it. And so, I think just continuing the training and just keeping your chops up and keep challenging yourself is always a good idea. Yeah. Yeah.
Everybody likes to see, and the Oscar goes to, and everybody says, you see on Facebook, that's gonna be me one day, But I don't, we talked about this a little bit earlier, I don't think they understand the level of work that goes into that statue.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not just, I'm a good actor and I'm just going to go out and do it. You've got to put that work in. had a chance to live in LA? Is
Yeah,
that for a little while?
I was there for 4 years. I was in California for 8 years. I was in Northern California for 4 and LA for 4 years.
Tell me a little bit about that experience as an
You
actor.
know, that's so interesting because I'm an attorney and I have always been doing law simultaneously. So I was doing some paralegal work out there too, and I was doing I was in the whole like kind of romantic struggling actor thing, waiting on tables and trying to get work and stuff like that. And I mean, it was great. It was a real learning experience. I mean, they talk about training. I mean, just a plethora to choose from, which was really great. But in the 4 years that I was out there, after I came back to DC, in 1 year I worked more than I had in the whole 4 years that I was in Los Angeles. And there's a couple of reasons for that, but I mean in LA it's just such a much bigger market, obviously. And there's I don't even know how many, 5,000 of me, and there's only
Sure.
maybe 50 of me here, not even that many. So that makes a difference. And then also, it's very competitive out there, obviously. It's as far as the difference in the market and the DMV area. Here I find that we're a lot more supportive. We share the audition announcements. Even if it's someone that looks just like you, you'd be like, hey, did you hear about this audition? Do you need a ride?
Sure.
And so, and I like that. It's sort of like when one person rises, like a boat, one person rises, then everybody rises. And I feel like that's the mentality of this area, which really makes Los Angeles different. And I love that.